what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2007 Corvette Z06. Up front is a 7.0 liter naturally aspirated V8 and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive. Before we get into it, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've driven GTRs, Hellcats, Camaros, GT500s. I've driven a fair amount of high horsepower vehicles, but I don't think I've ever been as terrified to get on it as I am with this Corvette. But don't worry, I'm gonna record my first pull. But let's get back to that 7.0 liter V8. Well, it's an LS7 and it, let me tell you, does not mess around. Interestingly enough, the engine takes 10 quarts of oil. 10 quarts. Oh, okay. All right, that was maybe a quarter throttle. Let's see if there's a straightaway up here. But before I do my first reaction, something interesting about the transmission is that it's actually in the rear, which I did not know about Corvettes. So the transmission's in the rear, engine obviously is up front, and so there's essentially a drive shaft that connects instead the transmission to the engine instead of the transmission to the diff in a traditional car. Oh, 7,000 RPM redline. This car also has a Hurst short throw shifter. All right, so there's a little straightaway coming up here. I'm really gonna roll into this one because we were driving it around earlier, the owner, which thank you, Jim. This review is awesome. But we were driving it earlier and we were spinning 345s. This has 345 rear tires on it and we spun them from a dig. So I'm gonna go easy. My heart is genuinely racing. But also this car does have an exhaust cutout. So let's open that bad boy up. Oh my God. Ah! Oh my God. Oh man, getting squirrely on 345s. I couldn't even get all the way in it. Oh. Natural aspiration. I was right to be terrified. I was correct in my assumption that this would scare me, because it did, and it does. I didn't think a naturally aspirated car would scare me. All right, let's get to the interior and then we'll do some more pulls. So in front of me, I have two gauges that are kind of mushed together. On the right is speedometer, which goes up to 200 miles an hour, which is insane. But on the left is the tachometer, which goes up to 7,000 RPM, which is also insane. To the left, I have oil pressure, temperature, and on the right, I have battery voltage and fuel. Up in front of the gauges, there is a heads-up display. Right now, it's showing my RPM, as well as my speed. Down below the gauges, I have a couple different things I can go through. Average fuel economy, instant fuel economy. So right now I'm getting 25 miles to the gallon. Range, and then you could actually just turn it off, which is super nice. I could also then hit this gauge button and I get a lot more options for that little thing. I have oil pressure, oil temperature, coolant temperature, battery voltage, front tire pressure, rear tire pressure, and also a blank screen. On the steering wheel, I get some music selection options on the right. And this is where the interior kind of falls apart for me. The steering wheel is almost the identical one out of my Pontiac G6, my base model Pontiac G6. If I would have gotten a higher trim of the G6, I would have had this exact same steering wheel. Exact same. In the middle, you get two air conditioning vents, a little infotainment center, your heating and air conditioning controls, two tiny little cup holders. Not really sure what those will really hold. And then, of course, I have my shifter, which is actually off to the left, which I kind of like. It's closer to me. And then I have my handbrake, and I have my traction control button, which interestingly enough, it has a C5 Corvette on it. So it has a Corvette. It's for the Corvette, but it's for the older generation. This is a C6. Seats are really comfortable. They say Z06 on them, and I really like that. The gauges, I forgot to mention, also say Z06 on them. I like feeling special. I like knowing that I'm not driving a base Corvette, which granted, the base Corvette still had a V8, but it's nice being reminded that, you know, if I were going to spend the money on a Z06, it reminds me that I'm in a Z06. Also, although the Z06 is about weight savings, and I'll get to that in a little bit, it does have heated seats, which I think is an interesting option. Trunk space, a lot of trunk space. Super nice. It is a hatchback, two-door. Speaking of the two doors, the buttons to get in and out are electronic. There are no door handles. So on the interior, there's a little button down here, and then on the outside, it looks like there's a handle. It's just actually a pad. The whole thing about this Corvette is that it weighs about 3,100 pounds, which is pretty light for something that holds a 7-liter V8. And man, Chevy did a good job. The floor of this car is, yes, it's carbon fiber like most cars, but in between the carbon fiber is compressed wood. There is wood in this car. Technically, termites could ruin your car. There's compressed wood in between carbon fiber because it's super light, and when you compress it, wood actually becomes very, very strong. Oh my God. Ah! Now, I do like the look of this car. It looks pretty decent, but that's always been my gripe with Corvettes, is that I've always thought that they're pretty basic, you know? Like, oh, I want a sports car and I have some money. Buy a Corvette. But now, I understand it. I understand why people get Z06s. I understand the thrill. This car is a beast, and I'm genuinely terrified of corners in this thing, or any possibility of losing traction. Yeah, Corvettes are pretty plentiful. You drive through any neighborhood, you're probably going to see one or two. But now I understand it. There's a reason they're so popular. There's a reason people love these things. I get it now. I really genuinely understand Corvettes. I understand their appeal. These things are light. They're nimble. A lot more nimble than the Camaro. Now, granted, I did do a 1LE Camaro, and that was cool because that thing really handled well. Oh my God. Oh God. Oh. I'm sorry, a lot of this video is just screaming, but oh, I understand it. That's all I can say is that I get it. I know why people like Corvettes. Genuinely, I've been doing polls. This is the first time this ever has happened to me. I'm a little sick. Like, I don't know if I'm just so nervous or what. I genuinely feel something back here brewing in my throat. Jim, thank you for letting me do this review. My eyes have completely been open to Corvettes. Matt, special shout out to Matt, who loves Corvettes, my brother's friend. I used to think they were weird. I used to think that they were basic. I get it now. I get it now. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshall.com/overdrive. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.